We coordinated colors.
I didn't. You just showed up in blue.
And you're wearing blue.
And you're in my house.
All right, man. You're right. You're right.
Hey,
you're 100% right. Dude.
So you don't want to talk about. So you're working hard on this. Am I in your way?
A little bit. Like I feel studio's getting small. We need to upgrade, dude. Make it bigger.
Well, we can soon.
Can we?
Doge. Doge is sending us $5,000 checks. Is that how they're saying it? Doge, Department of Government
Efficiency.
That's
which is funny because that's kind of like a, what do they call that? A oxymoron. Government and efficiency don't go together.
Allegedly, they've saved $55 billion already.
That's nothing, dude. That's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, their goal is
$1 trillion or something like that.
$2 trillion.
$2 trillion. I don't even know what that means,
dude. You're pegging. You're like pegging the audio,
dude. Turn me down, bro.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe when we get that money from the government, that's been
because the stimulus checks during COVID were so great. They did so much for the economy.
Yeah, but that was like money that would, I don't know where that money was coming from.
From us.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that was unreal. I didn't like that.
No, I didn't like it either. But
I know nothing about anything. So
I mean, I didn't like it, but I liked it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was extra money, but
extra money.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
But yeah, no, we'll get our $5,000 checks.
Yeah, right.
And then we'll get a bigger studio.
Dude, Anthony, it is great to see you, man.
Excellent to see you, Gary.
I was super pumped.
I wish we would have had the conversation when you first got here on the episode here.
Oh, because we're talking about
mad.
We're talking about aspect.
Mad.
You literally said, you go,
did
you
blame
do
you.
something different? And I'm literally like, you're the one who fudges with the camera.
I didn't.
Before we push record, you're the final say.
I didn't fudge with the I don't fudge with the camera. What I was asking you is, because I'm turning into a social media guru right now, and I'm creating YouTube shorts like a
You use my word, guru.
And
we're media moguls and gurus.
Yeah.
Dude.
So I'm creating these YouTube shorts, and YouTube shorts isn't letting me do certain things, and it's really aggravating. And every time
you instantly blame me as if I did something.
I asked you a question.
It was
I did.
The tone of voice. It was the tone of voice.
It's always my tone. It's always my tone. Everyone says it's your tone. It's your tone. It's not so much what you say, Anthony. It's your tone.
So if it's everybody saying the same thing, maybe you're the problem.
Maybe I am the problem. It's true. Maybe I need to take some stock. But no. So basically, the first one or two video episodes we did.
I mean, this is episode 4 right now. Half of them.
Yeah, the first one or two. I can't remember. YouTube Shorts was allowing me to do certain things, like zero in on your face, my face, blow us up,
it was like top bottom, right? Yeah.
And now it's not letting me do anything. And so they're talking about aspect ratios and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the only thing I can think of when something isn't going right and you're involved with me is that Gary did something different.
Dude, that's a good first blame is probably good.
So I was So I asked. I literally the only thing I did was ask you, have you done something differently to the camera the last 2 times we recorded?
I immediately took offense.
And you blew up.
I immediately took offense. Thought you were coming at me. I felt a certain way, but I'm good now. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm good.
So
I don't think I did anything different, but I'm not real good at this stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I literally push the buttons and hope something happens.
I don't know.
I'm always nervous that I forgot to push record.
And that we'll get through the whole thing. But I mean, we still have the audio, so it's not like we're losing anything. People will have to go back.
See us, dude. Apparently, people want to see us.
I guess. I don't quite understand.
I wonder if they're like, oh, I wonder what they're going to wear next time. What next episode? What are they going to wear? Dude, one of our viewers told me the other day. They're like, I made a comment and nobody responded. I go, you can't expect us to. I wanted to say,
where did they make a comment?
I don't know. On one of the things, they're like something about beards and then no beards. Like, where'd the beards go? Something like that.
Oh.
And nobody responded. I mean, we can't respond to everything. That was like
I didn't know what to say. I saw it.
I know the guy's a great guy.
Yeah.
I love him to death. But I was like, I don't know. We can't do everything.
I can't respond.
We have hundreds and hundreds of views. You know?
I can't keep up. I can't keep up with that.
I can't wait till say we have
so ridiculous.
thousands and thousands of views.
I like your attitude.
I don't think it's going to happen because I'm super pessimistic, but
no, it could happen.
I recently took one of those discs, DISC,
okay,
personality.
Oh yeah,
things.
the personality thing.
Yeah, I'm a mess, dude.
Why?
And I knew this. Like, it just reaffirmed all of my like messes.
What did you?
Oh, I don't remember what it was, but I just remember like.
Yeah, you do.
I want to like
remember. You don't.
Basically, I want to please people.
Okay.
But like people want to be around me. That basically that kind of thing.
You want people to like you.
I want people to like me, which is totally true.
Right. So you have this constant battle,
and I hate it.
Right.
I absolutely hate that part.
Well,
of my
that's why. But we all know this about.
And
Gary.
I push back against like dumb things. Like if you tell me to do something that doesn't make sense, I don't want to do it. Like that's one of my main.
But we all knew this about.
That's what I'm saying
about you.
Yeah.
Because your nickname back in the day, we called you the politician.
Yeah. So that was definitely.
And you were that would make you mad,
dude.
You
that
is
is
so mad.
I would get mad, but that's my thing, dude. I want everybody to be like at peace. Like I want shalom everywhere.
Well, speaking of that, promises made, promises kept. Where are our smelling salts?
I know. I failed again.
Dude, you throw this stuff out here.
But I'm going to get them. I think I'm going to get them.
Okay.
I think.
I think it's kind of gimmicky. Because I've seen Rogan do it. Is this where you got the idea? Rogan?
Yeah, him and Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, they were smelling salts and stuff.
And I was cracking up laughing. I was like, dude, we should do that. That'd be fun.
I've never
I haven't either. And I'm usually pretty amped anyway. So like, I don't really have to. I mean, you've told me a few times, hey, Gary, you were kind of down today. Like what's going on or whatever. But I feel most of the time that I am.
Yeah, most of the time you come in hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
today I feel a little jacked, man.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I don't know. Yeah, you definitely are bringing the energy today. I got to bring it up. I don't know why. Maybe it's when we're recording. Usually, like we're
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
So we'll see what happens.
Dude,
but yeah, this is episode 4 of season 2 of Low Expectations. But we're working on a name change. That's another thing you're supposed to be working on,
dude.
And you like, I know you don't really want to talk about it.
I've been I used AI, dude.
Yeah.
I don't really like AI, but I'm kind of like becoming a fan now. So
you're gonna be all in. This is your personality.
I threw up this picture.
Yeah.
Right. I threw up that picture into Chat GPT and I said, hey, make this image a podcast art for 2 cops, 1 call.
Right.
And it's
going to be our new name soon.
And it spit out this image.
It was cool.
That was awesome.
And you sent it to me and I was like, dude, we should just change our whole logo.
Yeah. The problem is it's not apparently Chat GPT can't use
actual photo.
Like the image that I uploaded. So it like created its own image.
Right.
Kind of based on that, it has like the white wall background and it's much cooler.
Right.
Than that. I mean, it's a great
Well, what do you
picture.
think? You think we can use a picture that doesn't show our faces?
I don't know. Maybe we should ask our people what they think.
I don't know. Podcast art, you can do whatever you want.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not really a rule follower anyway, but like.
I don't know. We'll keep thinking about it.
Yeah, but it turned out really cool.
Did you mess at all with this picture and change? Like
changing? I tried, and then I kept looking back at the one that was created by AI, and I was like, dude, I'm an idiot. Like, but I got to spend some more time on it. But we're getting there, I think.
Okay.
All right. There.
We're getting. Yeah.
Or not. In reality, or not.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if we were getting there or not. It was like crickets for weeks here.
Yeah.
Between recordings.
Dude, I got lazy. I don't know what happened.
And then I'm like, dude, I give Gary one job. No, 2 jobs. Get smelling salts
But I think that's
create this art.
Like, I don't think I'm going to get smelling salts. Right. I do want to have them for home, but like doing them here in front of people, like it's just weird. What if we throw up? Like if you throw up, I'm going to laugh.
Throw up right on my computer.
Yeah.
So yeah. Come on.
All right,
let's do it.
We're trying.
You're on it. We're gonna make it happen. So name change is coming. Again, we teased that it was gonna be like August, and I don't know. It might be.
Yeah, August 25.
No, that you shouldn't say that. You should say no, Anthony. It's going to be by April, by March. I should give you a deadline.
February's a short month, so like you got to give me some.
All right, end of March. There's your deadline.
Dude, the Birds won.
Yep, the Birds won.
Yeah.
The first call of the game, I was like, here we go.
Dude.
Do you think it's rigged? Do you think it?
No.
After watching some of the calls in the Chiefs games during the playoffs, I was like, is this rigged? Like some of those calls were ridiculous.
For the Chiefs.
Yeah. Like,
Like you think that the refs wanted the Chiefs to win, but they couldn't do anything to fix it? I'm not that Eagles fan.
I don't know. I said this in one of our past. I think there's so much money involved in gambling around sports, and I think football is one of those sports where we're going to see a huge scandal here at some point that may involve players and or refs.
Okay.
Because I some of the calls that were being made, I was like, this is crazy.
Like during the Eagles game,
during
the Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
The first call during the Eagles game for the pass interference, I was like, really? Is this how we're going to call this game? We're not even going to let these guys play.
Yeah.
And like you touch a chief and you're going to get pass interference. But then I thought they called a pretty good game.
Yeah. My thing is, they're not going to get every call right.
No.
The problem is when it seems like the Chiefs really get
right, and they did miss a hand to the face
yeah. Yep,
on
they missed that.
Mahomes.
Yep. Which normally is called like if you don't, it doesn't even happen. Yeah.
Well, and Mahomes, you know, there's been a couple, at least one of the playoff games where he was running. He was a runner, so he's out of the pocket. He's past line of scrimmage. He's now running, and he gets tackled, and they called like roughing the passer. I'm like, how do, you know, stuff like that. I'm like, this is. I'm not even a football ref, and I know. Once you're a runner,
dude, I love that Kenny Pickett got into the game. Right,
that's great.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
the guy's terrible. I mean, he's terrible.
What do you mean?
Like he's not a good football. He's not a quarterback, dude.
Well, yeah, but
he's still a pro athlete.
He's
like
a pro athlete, and didn't he have some good games for the Eagles when?
Yeah, remember the one where he did the pass, he threw it into the ground. Do you remember that one? Yeah, that was funny.
Okay, you're right.
But,
well, he's not.
Whatever. He's
not a starter. But
it's funny.
I was hoping the Eagles would blank him. Yeah,
dude, I was hoping that the whole
shutout.
Time. But like, awesome. I think they didn't. It's almost like that. That's where I go like conspiracy wise. They didn't want it to be that much of a blowout, so they're like.
Well, but once you're ahead by that much, you kind of like let your foot off the gas a little bit.
Which is what they did, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I saw something too about how Travis Kelce showed up in his 70s suit. Did you see the ridiculous outfit he wore to the game? And someone said, I keep smiling thinking about Travis Kelce leaving the game dressed the same way he came to the game. Sorry, I just spit on you almost.
Dude, I spit earlier, so it's okay. I wonder if that gets caught in like high def, like spit flying across.
No, because your aspect ratio isn't right. I can't zero in on it.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it.
All right. So we've talked about nothing so far on this episode.
The story of our lives.
Literally, we cannot start one of these episodes and just dive in. Like, why can't we just get into the meat and potatoes when we start these episodes?
Dude, because we don't see each other for like a week or two, and then we just want to kind of catch up and just kind of chat it up, man.
I don't know.
It's like squad room talk. It's just like
squad room talk.
Yeah, you're just like
we're catching up.
Yeah, like drug room talk. You're just like,
but we're not. Like,
you don't think
the squad room talk? Well, I guess it is a little bit.
Yeah, dude, it totally is.
Yeah,
I
don't know. But anyways, yeah, we got a lot we want to get into in this episode. The main thing,
dude, the agenda's huge.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
All right,
we're gonna fire through it.
You have to disagree with everything I said. You do. Like it's okay.
Okay, I will try to agree with the next thing you say. So
I don't want you to agree with me anymore.
I will.
Oh man, dude, you're funny.
I see what you did there. And I failed.
Dude, there was some brutal news between the last recording or two recordings ago when we talked about the officer that was on trial. Lunsford.
Officer Lunsford. Well, that's the first case we want to talk about. Yeah.
Brutal.
He was the verdict came back and he was found guilty, which I was shocked.
I was unbelievably shocked. I thought there was zero chance that he was going to be found guilty.
Well, you even said that on the last episode that you didn't think there was any chance. And under the law and under what we discussed, there shouldn't be any chance.
Correct.
That he was convicted, but he was, and I was shocked by the verdict.
Dude, I actually thought about it. Like, I don't know this guy from anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know him. I would like to know him.
Right.
And like, just because what he did was heroic.
Right.
And it's what I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's what I would have done.
Yeah.
And any reasonable officer would have done.
And his own department and the district attorney's office said as much as you just said.
That's right. Like I don't know that I lost sleep, but my guts hurt, like deep inside, like hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't know this guy from Adam. You know what I mean? I don't know who he is. and his story. It's brutal, dude.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was shocked. I mean, I was hoping that the jury would see through all the craziness, and once they heard, the Supreme Court Graham versus Connor ruling, that they would understand, what they're looking at and come back with a different verdict. But it wasn't to be. I did look up this article from CNN.com. So there's a couple things I want you to keep in mind when I read a couple things. I want you to take note of how CNN frames the incident. Okay. Take note of what Attorney General Raul Torres says. And then there's a third part where a gentleman talks about stats, like officer stats when it comes to how many officers have been charged with manslaughter and homicide. So
and this Attorney General is the Soros guy, right?
Yeah, he's the Soros
money and got elected.
Yep, he was funded by Soros and got elected. And so CNN, one of the first paragraphs, the second paragraph in this CNN.com article that says New Mexico jury convicts former officer in fatal shooting of black man at gas station. So right away, it's a race thing.
There we go.
So they said Las Cruces police officer Brad Lunsford's verdict in a jury trial is the latest outcome in cases that prosecutors have linked to systematic brutality against black people by members of law enforcement nearly 5 years after the May 2020 killing of George Floyd by a white police officer in Minneapolis. So our Main Street media is not serious about doing their job.
Right.
They're serious about pushing a narrative. There was just a case I saw it came across my feed on X. I can't remember what state or what police department. Basically, officer shot and killed a suspect. The news goes out, talks to allegedly an eyewitness who claims that they shot him in the back as he was running away and that he was unarmed. That's what they tell the news. The news does no fact checking on this guy's story, no follow-up questions to try to figure out where he was at, nothing to back up the story. They put it out on the news.
Mm-hmm.
Completely false.
Right.
So the chief gets on and calls his own news thing because they don't. Like, these agencies right now don't even have time to get their own narrative, get the truth out about what happened. They don't even have time to do that before these news agencies are already trying to create a narrative. And departments are being pushed to put out in these news releases when they're still trying to figure out what do we want to put out? What do we want to keep in-house to not affect the investigation in a negative way? So the chief calls his own press conference and releases stills from the body cam because they hadn't released the body cam. Clearly shows the suspect, they tried tasing him, the taser didn't work. Suspect turns, has a handgun with an extended magazine, shoots the officer in the stump, like in the vest. His vest saved him, and they lit this guy up and killed him. And the chief is like, this is like remotely not even what happened. And this is being reported as news.
Yeah.
And so then I read an article like this in CNN. I'm like, you're not being serious. Like you're making this case about race.
And about systemic abuse toward black Americans.
Right.
Which what are we doing?
We've talked about the stats over and over again on this podcast. It's not an honest portrayal of what's going on out there. So that's how CNN portrayed it in this article. And then further down, it says Attorney General Raul Torres said the use of deadly force was not reasonable, noting that Lunsford immediately drew his service weapon and shot the suspect in the back of the head. No, he didn't. He didn't. That's not the first thing he did. The first thing he did was try to get the suspect's name for a theft investigation.
That's right.
The first thing that happened was non-compliance by the suspect. He goes on to say, today's verdict reaffirms a fundamental principle. No one is above the law, not even those sworn to uphold it. Officer Lunsford's actions were not just a tragic lapse in judgment. They were an egregious abuse of power that cost the suspect his life.
I'm getting tired of that narrative.
Right.
Because we talk about this all of the time. There's one person who controls the outcome of a situation when there's a police encounter, and it's the person dealing with the police officer.
Right.
It's that person.
Yeah.
If this dude gives his name up, he's getting a citation and he's gone.
Right.
If this dude steps out of the car and gives his name, this is over.
Yeah. And we
drove everything.
Yeah. We talked about that on the last episode. It was funny. I put that specific part of the episode into a YouTube short.
Okay.
And I think I got one response, and the one response was some guy, I'm assuming it was a guy, who basically said, so basically what you're saying is if I beat my wife, it's her fault. I'm like, I love it. I'm like, it literally has
to anything.
Nothing to do with what we said.
Right.
Nothing to do with what we said. But I read this stuff. I read the comments on our videos. I just laugh. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Which is what we wanted. So keep giving us comments. Yeah, it's funny. It boosts the algorithm. So I appreciate it.
Exactly. So the further down in this article, when I was talking about those stats, Philip Stinson, he's a professor of criminal justice at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. He said that records compiled by Stinson, university colleague, and students through the Police Integrity Research Group showed that 205 non-federal law enforcement officers have been arrested on criminal charges of homicide or manslaughter over the past 20 years, resulting in 66 convictions. Only 27 of those convictions for the original manslaughter or homicide charge. Okay. So if you do get a conviction, he said it's often for the lesser offense. In pursuing criminal charges against Lunsford, this is Torres again, describing the killing of the suspect as a tragedy and yet another example of poor police tactics resulting in unjustifiable use of force to subdue an individual resisting arrest for the commission of a minor crime. I really wish that someone would take Torres, put him into the same situation.
And come arrest me.
Yeah,
that's what I want you to do.
Right.
Torres, come arrest me.
Right.
Come arrest me.
And I will do the exact same thing that this suspect did. And I will take your gun and stand over top of you and end your life if it was a real scenario. Right.
Like that's literally what happens.
Right.
That is what happens. If an officer doesn't do what they were trained to do, something that's reasonable at the time, if they don't do that, they wind up dead.
And the same, and even if your argument is we don't know that his intent was to kill the officer. Again, that's not the standard. And for an attorney general to not understand that, again, it's a reasonable officer at the scene in the moment. It's not
20/20 hindsight.
It's not 20/20 hindsight. It's not that hindsight bias type stuff. So I did think the stats were interesting that only, over the last 20 years, only 205 non-federal law enforcement officers have been arrested on criminal charges of homicide or manslaughter. And that of those, 66 were convicted, most of them for lesser offenses, but 27 of those were convicted for the manslaughter or homicide. So I thought that was interesting simply because if you think about that, only 205 over the last 20 years.
Seems very low.
It is very low. I just did
because cops are good at what they do.
Well, and I just did a little bit of math, which is always dangerous when I do math. But
I'm glad you did it, not me, dude.
But basically, generally speaking, there's 800,000 municipal and state police officers in the United States. So if 205 of those were charged with manslaughter and murder over the last 20 years, that's an average of about 10.25 per year. All right.
Okay.
Generally, in any given year, police have 50 million contacts with the public.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're looking at 50 million contacts with the public, and on average, about 10 of those end with an officer being charged with manslaughter or homicide, that is 0.0000002 of those contacts end in that type of charge for a police officer.
Super rare.
It's super rare.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more rare is the fact that out of those 205, only 66 were actually convicted. So the reasonable standard has been looked at and followed and understood by some juries, it appears. And out of those 66 that have been convicted, only 27 of those have ended with a conviction, a verdict for that manslaughter or murder charge.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, in this case, in Officer Brad Lunsford's case, he was found guilty of that manslaughter charge. Just tragic.
Yeah. It baffles my mind, actually. It actually is confusing.
Right. And so I don't know. I assume that there's going to be appeals, that they're going to be appealing this. I think I've read some articles suggesting that they're going to make some appeals, as they should.
Good.
So we'll continue to follow that case. And if you are of the way of Jesus and believe in the power of prayer, I would pray for that family. That it's extremely stressful. These guys have families. They have wives.
Right.
They have kids. Most of these officers that we're talking about today, they have wives and kids. Like this is extremely stressful. It's a destructive to their lives, and for something that we the public have asked them to go out and do.
Right.
And again, we don't have to like it, and it may not look pretty, but we ask them to go do a job, and then we crush them for doing it.
And without guys like Officer Lunsford, the world is chaotic.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to live in a world that's chaos, that's anarchist,
right?
That there are no rules. You just do whatever you want. I don't want to live in a world like that. And most people do not.
Right.
And I mean, it's brutal, dude. It's brutal. I get and then the other side of me is like, okay, so a jury heard this and they agreed, jury of his peers. And then it makes me think, okay, so was his defense not good enough? Was it, what?
Right. Because we weren't, and to be fair, we weren't there for the whole case. We don't know all the things that were laid out.
But the video itself, and like, I still haven't seen the entire video.
Right.
But that's reasonable. And
right.
I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you want him to do? Like, not do that and just start beating him, and then he's going to be charged for use of force anyway, use of force violation anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's not his policy isn't going to allow him to punch him repeatedly. Like, there's very, very few policies now that you can throw punches or choke. I mean, you definitely can't choke someone. You know what I mean?
Unless it's a deadly force situation.
Yeah. So, which this one was.
Yeah.
In our opinion, it was. But that looks just as bad. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been treated just as badly as him pulling his gun and doing what he did, I believe justifiably. And, it would have been treated probably the same or worse.
Yeah.
If he's throwing he's just throwing punches.
Yeah.
And
I hear what you're saying, but again, I think even to go down that path is just
it's the what if scenario.
Helpful.
It's not helpful.
You're what ifing it. Like, you can't, these situations, that the reasonable standard is not a what if standard.
It's not.
Well, what if he would have done that and then the guy would have just lost consciousness and then he would have been able to get, well, what if you would have tried this? Well, what if he got the taser and in 4 more seconds he would have thrown the taser? What if he got the taser and he didn't know how to work the taser?
What if the officers just got off of him and let him run away, get him at another time? That's what you're doing in Chicago, right?
Right.
Just let him run away.
We'll
get him next time.
Yeah. So that's, again, it's not the legal standard. And that's what concerns me about a case like this. A jury decided to abandon the legal standard and find him guilty. What does that mean for the next officer we're going to talk about, Officer Christopher Schurr?
Here's what I think, Anthony. I trust that the appeals process will work, which is why we have an appeals process. You have it for police officers. You have it for defendants who are criminals who can appeal. There is an appeal process in our criminal justice system, which I think is great.
Right.
Right. It's not a one and done. He can appeal it. They can write briefs, and a higher court can look at this and see if it was a good or righteous verdict.
Right.
And if it's not, then that court can overturn it. So, I mean, I hope that that's what happens.
Yeah.
I hope that he gets the support he needs as far as competent, intelligent attorneys who can articulate way better than you and I, the reasonableness of what he did at that time.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know anything about his legal team.
I'm not saying they did a bad job.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what he needs, right? He needs someone to articulate better than you and I can the law to the next highest court.
Right.
And hope that they see it their way, right? I mean, that's why we argue, right? That's having a defense and a prosecution.
Yeah. And I know
that's what's great about our system. I understand he's found guilty now. There's still an appeals process. So I hope it turns out rightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the right way. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. But it concerns me too, because this next officer, Officer Christopher Schurr, We talked about him on episode 18 in season 1. He was the officer who also shot and killed a suspect who was resisting and attempting to gain control of his taser.
And this was a super long, like...
It was like a 3 or 4 minute fight.
Yeah, versus like the 10 or 15 second
right
incident with the Lunsford case.
So, and Schurr was charged with second-degree murder for that incident back in 2022. Officer Schurr's defense team has done several appeals. All those appeals have been denied.
For it to not even go to trial.
Right. All those appeals have been denied, and now his trial is set to start in April, so I wanted to give an update to that. But, man, Officer Schurr, I actually thought about him almost as soon as I saw the news about Officer Lunsford, I thought about Officer Schurr, and my heart dropped for him because his case is very, very similar.
It's all revolves around a taser. It all struggle over a taser.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was just like, man, I don't. Yeah, it's tough. So his case is going to trial in April, so we'll continue to keep up with that one.
It makes you think, like, okay, so is the taser the issue here? You know what I mean? Like stepping back, it makes you think, like, okay, so the police officers were given this tool to try to de-escalate situations. That's the goal of it, right? To try to non-lethal weapon to de-escalate a situation. But like, it seems like that's becoming an issue. So like, why wear it? Why bring it? Why have it?
Right.
And like, if I'm Taser, I would be all over these cases. If I'm the company who produces, what do they call it? Electric, whatever they're called. Like Taser's a specific company, but like
ECW, electronic control weapon. I think that's what they're still calling them.
Of course.
Actually, I think maybe they took weapon out of it.
It is a weapon.
Go ahead. Just,
you know what I mean? But like, is that the problem now? So like, we were given a tool. Police officers were given a tool. I'm not a cop anymore. We were given a tool. Police officers were given a tool to be able to not use deadly force in situations so that this weapon, this tool could be used so people don't die.
Right.
Right. But now it's almost a liability. Well, right? Because you're carrying this thing. If it gets taken and dropped and someone grabs it and you shoot them, now you're going to jail for 20 years.
Well, and I think you bring up a very interesting point. And that point is that the taser is being introduced at active resistance now. Okay.
Right. Because it changed.
Which is right. When the taser was first given to law enforcement, when I first started carrying a taser, we could use it at verbal noncompliance.
Right. No, I'm not getting out of my car. Okay, you're getting tased. If you don't get out of the car, you're going to get tased. Bam, you're tased.
Over.
It's done.
It was done.
And it was justifiable. It was within policy in most departments.
Right. And now it's been pushed up so high in the use of force continuum that the taser isn't being introduced until there's active resistance and or assaultive resistance. So what that means is you're in much closer contact with, generally speaking, for active resistance and assaultive resistance, you're in much closer contact with the suspect.
You have to be, by definition. You have to be within like arm's reach. Right. You're grabbing him, he's pulling away, or he's throwing punches.
Right. I mean, active resistance can also be running away.
Sure.
But then, you have to go through your whole like, what's the crime? Is he running on grass? Is he running on pavement? Right. It's ridiculous what officers are required to tick off in their brains before they use these levels of force. I think that the public, again, I don't want to talk down to the public here, but I think generally people don't understand.
You're pig-splaining.
Yeah.
I guess you're going to get that later, right?
Yeah, that was another
thing. We'll come back to that. You'll laugh.
He didn't even spell it right. He said pigs planning. That's how he spelled it. What an idiot. So people aren't aware of the things you have to tick off in your brain as you're using force, as you're going up the use of force continuum, as you're coming down. That's why, I tell my guys all the time, like, if there's one policy that you need to know inside and out is the use of force policy. Right. You need to operate with so much confidence in that moment that you have no doubts that what you're doing is within policy and within the law.
You have to run scenarios in your head. You have to like think about this stuff all the time, which nobody ever thinks about.
Until
police officers are constantly like, when I say people, I mean those non-law enforcement people.
Yeah.
Like, you're constantly running this stuff in your head, hoping that you make the right decision, or trusting that you've trained yourself, you understand the policy, and that you've run enough scenarios in your head that you're going to do the right thing at the right time so you don't get charged.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you tease that out then. So now the taser is a tool that can't be brought out until generally you are engaged with the suspect.
You're fighting.
You're fighting.
Kind of.
You know, whether it's active resistance, whether he's like already, you know, squared up on you, you know, ball in his fist, showing that he's going to attack you or whatever, then you can articulate using it. But generally speaking now, nationwide, tasers aren't being introduced until there's that active resistance or assaultive resistance. Well, that increases the chances of that weapon then being taken from you.
Or used to, taken and used against you.
For sure. Or a fight over that weapon to happen. So in Officer Schurr's scenario, in Officer Lunsford's scenario, if you had that taser back down, lower on the use of force continuum,
they tase him in the car.
Tase him in the car.
It's over.
Get out of the car. No. Zap. Now he's in custody.
He's in custody. He's secure. He's safe.
Officer Schurr's case, guy jumps out of the car right away, doesn't want to follow directions. Boom. Zaps him there in the middle of the street. He goes down. He's in custody. But it isn't introduced until later in these use of force events.
And if they use it before then,
they're outside of policy.
They're outside of policy. They lose their job.
Right. They get punished by their department.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the taser seems to be the issue now.
Right.
And if I'm Taser, who makes millions of dollars, you better come to the defense of these guys.
Yeah.
You ought to. In my opinion, you ought to.
Right.
And I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. So
he's going to trial in April?
Officer Schurr is going to trial. His trial is set middle of April.
Okay.
End of April. So we'll keep an eye on that case as well. The other case, the good news that I wanted to share was Officer Terence Sutton.
Yeah.
Remember him, the DC cop? That was episode 9 of season 1. He was pursuing a known gang member who was on a scooter, low speed pursuit.
There was 2 officers charged in this one, right?
There were. They claimed that they
conspired to
cover up evidence and stuff. And I think we talked about that a little bit. That was
seems
wonky. It was dumb. Yeah. There was no conspiracy there to cover up evidence. It was simply like a paperwork problem.
Snafu
from what I understood. So anyways, President Trump pardoned both those guys.
Yeah.
Officer Terence Sutton, and we didn't bring up the name of the lieutenant, I don't think, in that case. I can't recall his name, but
they were both pardoned.
So that's good news.
And they were both out on, not on bail, but on like appeals. So like I don't think they did any time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they were out.
Well, I'm not sure.
The article said that they were like locked up for 5 years, or I think President Trump said that they were locked up for 5 years, but
I know that's what Officer Sutton got.
Yeah, his sentence was that, but they were appealing, so he was out.
Okay.
Is my understanding of this, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, they were pardoned.
Yes.
That's good. And this was the guy that was fleeing. And listen, President Trump said some silly things in there, like that he was an illegal. There was no evidence that he was an illegal. I don't think that was even brought up. Like we didn't even talk about that.
Right.
We would have talked about that if that was like a fact of the case. But dude, that's kind of silly.
Well, I mean, Trump says a lot of silly things.
He says a lot of silly things, which is entertaining. But like, I mean, he's
trying to get your facts right, you know?
Yeah, he's the leader of the free world. So like, come on,
you're constantly going fake news.
Yeah,
you know?
And you're throwing out. Yeah,
maybe you're throwing out some stuff that maybe not be accurate.
Anyway, so that's good news.
So yeah, Sutton and the other officer in that case, they were pardoned. The last case, our friend Officer Bailey Marquette, we talked about him on episode 16 of season 1.
That's a good.
The latest on him is they are appealing. They're appealing, trying to keep this from going to trial.
Like get rid of the charges.
Right.
Like the charges shouldn't even been brought.
So according to DecaturDaily.com, a stand your ground immunity hearing in the murder case against Officer Marquette is coming up. And that's scheduled for March 25th. So basically what they're saying is like, hey, listen, like this guy pointed a gun at this officer. He had every right to defend himself.
Right. Based on this law, the stand your ground law.
Right. The stand your ground law in the state of Alabama. Alabama, right? Yeah. And so that immunity hearings come up. We'll keep up with that. But I thought it'd be good to just tick down through some of these officers that we talked to and give updates on their cases,
And listen, if anybody has cases that are out there that we don't know of or we haven't heard of, like send them to us.
Yeah.
Like we'll review them. We'll check them out.
Yeah.
We might talk about them.
Yeah.
Like, we try to keep up with them.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there's not a lot of them, because police officers are pretty good at what they do.
Right.
But when they're out there, we want to make
there's not a lot of them, but there's more than there should be.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
You know, there's
all of these that we're talking about should never been charged, in our opinion.
They should have never.
And maybe some point we should look at ones that are justified, like that the officer did violate the law and he a dereliction of duty where he stepped over the line. Maybe we should look at some of those. I don't know.
I mean, I think about that like sometimes. The reason we don't.
The reason we're doing this podcast is to bring to light this crazy stuff, because we think the justice system does a good job of holding people accountable.
Right.
The problem is they step over the line and try to go after officers who did the right thing, who did a good job, but they get blasted for it.
Right.
Criminally charged. They get criminally charged for it. So that's like the point of the podcast, not really to say, hey, this officer did a bad job. I mean, you know what I mean? There's bad doctors. There's bad politicians. You know what I mean? Like there's people who do bad things. That's not the point of this podcast. We're trying to bring to light the issues that a good police officer, because we think most police officers are really good at what they do.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we protect them, because most people are just crushing them.
Yeah.
And we want to praise good and crush evil.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, I really don't have this. I mean, nobody dislikes a bad cop more than good cops.
100%.
Can't stand them. You know,
they need to be gone. Yeah. And their sentences should be even larger.
Yeah.
Than a person on the street who commits roughly the same crime. In my opinion, they should be held accountable even to a greater level.
Yeah, because you've been put in a position.
You steal evidence.
Right.
You take drugs out of the evidence locker. You
steal.
Yeah,
steal
whatever.
Other people's money.
You make things up. You lie. You should be held. Like your sentence should be higher.
Right.
You know, you're held to a higher standard, and you should act that way. But that's not the point of this podcast. So
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are some quick updates then on those officers, and we'll keep checking in on those officers and find out what's going on with those cases as they progress. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about was this.
I can't wait. I can't remember.
You can't remember.
Like I reviewed.
So it's a cop killer. It's a cop killer that was pardoned by Biden.
FBI killer, right?
Yeah, he killed 2 FBI agents. So, man, what's interesting is I'm trying to do this thing right now where I read one proverb each day.
Okay.
As part of my morning devotions, Bible reading. Yeah. So whatever date I'm on, I don't do it every day, but whatever date I'm on, I pick that proverb.
This the 21st day of some month you pick.
20. Yeah, because I think there's 31 proverbs. 31 chapters,
yeah, I mean. So you read the entire chapter.
Yeah. Okay. So generally speaking, try to read the entire chapter.
So you only get to 28 this month.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so recently I was reading Proverbs 17 and then the next day 18. And Proverbs 17:15 says, "He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, both of them alike are an abomination to the Lord." I was like, whoa.
Abomination is a strong word, so... We don't use that word very often, but it's like greater than hatred.
Yeah.
Or it's a synonym of hatred.
Yeah.
It's hated by God.
Right.
The creator of all things.
Or Proverbs 18:5, to show partiality to the wicked is not good.
Mm.
So I believe that is what happened with this pardon. I did not, again, know about.
This is super old.
Yeah, this is from the 1970s, I think. Well, here, hold on. Let me pull up the article here, and I'll read. It's just easier to read it off this. It's townhall.com.
I love when you read.
Biden's unforgivable betrayal of FBI heroes.
Whoa, that's
1975.
Read that the headline again.
Biden's unforgivable betrayal of FBI heroes by John Nance. It was
dude. That's the FBI too. That's top tier, man.
Yeah.
I say that with extreme sarcasm.
Yeah.
I love my FBI brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I mean, the guys on the boots on the ground guys and gals are
dude, Cash
probably
Patel got.
Yeah. Great. He
got confirmed, right?
Yeah, he did get confirmed and he's going to.
Dude, what do you think? Yeah. I want to hear this article, but what did you think about his statement when he said something about turning FBI headquarters into a museum on a podcast? You remember that? They made a big deal about that in Congress.
I didn't. So
basically,
know too
during
much
his
about it.
Hearings, he was on this podcast and he said something about if he's confirmed as the FBI director, he's going to get rid of FBI headquarters and make it a museum.
Okay.
Right. Because of all the like just
corruption.
Schmucks. Yeah. All the schmucks. And it's obviously hyperbole, right? Like
right.
He's making a joke. He's I don't know the word. He's exaggerating for effect.
To make
it's
a point.
obvious, right? But like the senators are like, oh, you said that, like you're gonna do. Like I'm like, bro, take a joke, man. Like we live in a world that sometimes is so serious, but you only make it serious when it goes into like what you're going after,
right?
So it's super annoying. And I was like, this guy, like, they're just crushing him for this statement
understand.
he made on a podcast.
Right.
And I'm like, you can't take a joke. Like, he was making a point. Like, there's corruption within the headquarters of FBI. They've been around forever. They're dinosaurs. They have political bias. So, like, let's get rid of that.
Right.
And that's literally what he's saying. And he's saying it in a way that, like, gets clicks. Yeah. Right? That makes he's making his point.
He's trying to make his point. Yeah.
Is hyperbole the right word?
Or exaggeration? Yeah, hyperbole. Yeah, I think
I don't know my words very well.
Yeah,
you
said it, not me.
I said it. Yeah, I know. But anyway, so
I'm going to agree with you on that. Yes, I just agreed with you on something. I didn't argue with you.
That was super weird.
Yeah, I know.
And we need smelling salts. All right, read this article.
Okay,
so this is from the 1970s.
Yeah, on the morning of June 26th.
This is brutal. Like
1975, two FBI agents, Ron Williams and Jack Kohler.
This is before we were alive.
Yeah. Drove separately to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the southwest corner of South Dakota. Their purpose was to locate and arrest a guy by the name of Jimmy Eagle, who they had reason to believe was located in or near the reservation. A federal warrant had charged Eagle with robbery, subsequent to his participation in a beating and robbery of an individual on the Pine Ridge Reservation. The only information the two FBI agents had at the time was that Eagle was driving a red vehicle, okay? So they're there for this Eagle guy. They come in contact with this suspect who has nothing to do with that case.
With Eagle.
At 11:50 a.m., Agent Williams radioed Agent Kohler that he'd spotted a red and white vehicle and would initiate a stop. Unbeknownst to either, the red vehicle was occupied by this guy, I will say the suspect's name, Leonard Peltier, wanted for the attempted murder of an off-duty Wisconsin police officer. Norman Charles and Joe Stuntz also occupied the vehicle. Within moments, Agent Kohler arrived to a hail of bullets as Peltier, assisted by the other two, assaulted Williams' position with an AR-15 rifle. Kohler and Williams vainly attempted to return fire and were wounded multiple times. Agent Kohler sustained a wound to his arm, which nearly severed it. Mercilessly, Peltier...
That's a tough word.
Oh, that is a tough... You say it.
Mercilessly.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Good job. Peltier riddled the agent's vehicle with at least 125 rounds, turning the metal body panels of the green and beige sedans into Swiss cheese. The .223 caliber rounds blew holes in the vehicles and passed through from side to side with ease. Bone and flesh were shattered and torn with impunity. Former FBI Director Chris Wray said Williams was on his knees, unable to stand when Peltier shot him in the face through an outstretched hand. So he's like this.
Right.
Peltier shot Kohler twice in the head as he lay on the ground unconscious. So cold-blooded, like absolutely cold-blooded.
Right.
There's been no remorse from Peltier. Washington Times said after this happened, Peltier fled the state after the shootout. Later that year, he was pulled over by an Oregon state trooper and attempted to shoot the officer before escaping. Agent Kohler's gun, along with 8 other weapons, several hand grenades, and 350 pounds of dynamite were found in the vehicle. He was arrested in Canada in 1976 and eventually extradited back to the United States. So Peltier has become kind of like this folk hero because he is a woke fighter,
indigenous person.
Yeah.
He's Native American.
I don't know if he's Native American,
okay.
But he
fought on behalf.
Yeah, and they made creative statues for him, and
really,
yeah, he's become this guy.
I've never heard of this dude.
Yeah, I think he has like a statue somewhere now. Peltier has lobbied for commutation
from jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's lobbied for commutation for decades, and presidents for the last 50 years, including Bill Clinton and Obama have refused his requests. It is a settled fact that Peltier is an unrepentant, cold-blooded murderer, undeserving of the least shred of mercy. In fact, this is from the article in the townhall.com. In fact, Peltier should have been put to death decades ago and consigned to an unmarked grave. Again, this is the opinion of this guy writing an article. But Biden decided that Peltier's recently applied status as a...
What?
Say the word again.
Indigenous?
Yeah, activist. I can't say that word.
Try it.
Indigenous.
There's no N there at the indigenous.
Yeah, there is. It's INDIGE.
Indigenous.
Indigenous.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Say it again.
No, I'm not.
Indigenous.
No, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, you're turning a little bit red. I love
Somehow.
I'm usually red-faced.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Because
you are.
I was told I was indigenous, but I'm not. I'm Irish.
Yeah, you're Irish.
I'm Irish.
I remember that. You said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
he's an indigenous activist.
Somehow sainted Peltier and mitigated the horrors of his murders because woke makes right.
Yeah.
It's simply another manifestation of the anti-law and order administration, which lauded BLM and Antifa operatives while demonizing law enforcement charged with maintaining the peace.
Unreal.
The left needs anarchy, and their natural enemies are those who strive to maintain social order.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So Biden pardoned him. When we say Biden pardoned him, we mean those who actually ran the government while Biden was president pardoned him.
Yeah. And if you look at the pictures of this scene, I actually found a website. Well, it's FBI's, part of FBI's website, it looks like, is like famous cases in history.
Yeah.
They actually have pictures of the vehicles.
Okay.
These agents' vehicles, the pictures of the two agents and pictures of their vehicles just riddled with bullets. I mean, it's insane. Like,
wow.
And this guy has never...
He's not like, I'm sorry I did this.
He's never been repentant about it. So Biden pardoned him. So
I wonder what he does. Like, he's got to be ancient at this point, right? I mean, he's got to be super old.
Yeah,
It happened in 1975. That's like 40 some years ago. 50 some years ago. I can't
75, yeah. Like, yeah.
Dude, math's not my thing, man.
Yeah.
So if it's 50 years ago and he was in his 20s, 70s, he's 80s at least, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is right now.
Boo to this guy. Like,
yeah.
You're right. Like, he should have been put to death.
Yeah.
He was
What's interesting is in 93 and in 96, the U.S. Parole Commission denied parole to him.
Good.
So, they're listening to him. In 2000, he asked Clinton for clemency. Clinton
said, nah.
Clinton didn't do it.
He's like, not today. And Obama, you said Obama even denied his pardon.
Obama denied it.
But it's buddy Biden.
2022, the U.S. Department of Justice denied a petition from Peltier's representatives for a commutation. Basically a pardon,
right,
on his sentence and stuff. So, yeah, it's just brutal. Wild to me. And what's crazy too is I tried to do a Google search, like how many presidents have, pardoned cop killers.
Okay.
And I couldn't find anything. The only thing Google would bring up to me is articles crapping on Trump for his pardons. I'm like, I'm not. I understand, Google, that you don't like Trump.
I get it.
I just want to know.
I want this information here.
Right? Did any other president ever, pardoned a cop killer?
You should have used Chat GPT.
I don't use it yet. I guess I should.
Just try it. It's fun.
What's interesting is they claim in a quick Google article that I read that Trump actually pardoned a guy who had been convicted of killing a cop.
Really?
Yeah. And at the end of his last term. So, and I don't know a lot about that case. That guy had done like 29 years in prison, and he had allegedly given a gun to a teenager and ordered the teenager to go kill this cop or something like that.
Okay. And they charged that guy with
they charged that guy with murder of the cop. Again, justifiably, it sounds like. But some witnesses in the case had recanted their testimony since the trial had happened. And so I didn't dive into that case and see all the details, but that was who Trump had pardoned. But other than that pardon and Biden's, I don't know of any other president that's ever pardoned a cop killer. Other murderers, yes.
Sure.
But I just thought that was...
Yeah.
Some of these pardons are just wild. What do you think about Trump doing like a blanket pardon for the J6? That was like
That got, yeah. Like my thing is
interesting
this.
comments.
So I think, listen, no cops were killed by any humans
right
on the scene. None.
Right.
Some were hit. Some had things thrown at them.
Some were assaulted for sure.
That happened to me. That happened to you.
Right.
And they served 5 years in extreme conditions.
Yeah.
So even if, or in light of the fact that they committed a crime against police officers, 5 years seems legit to me. Like you're going to hold them in a federal prison in solitary confinement. A lot of these guys is at least what I've read. It seems a little bit brutal. And I don't think this was an insurrection. I don't think there's so many videos out there now of like police officers letting them in.
Yeah.
And like a lot of these people went in and did nothing. A lot of these, I mean, it's just, it's silly to me. Like and when you let literally hundreds, tens of thousands of people take over entire cities or entire buildings within cities, government buildings, and you did nothing about it because it was okay because of George Floyd. That's not okay. Like there was two different like standards.
Right.
If we're going to hold one accountable, let's hold them all accountable. But in reality, 5 years for assaulting a police officer, okay, you threw something at a cop.
Right.
Like a cop knows they're going to get stuff thrown at them in their career. If they're in some type of urban environment, they're going to get something thrown at them.
Yeah, and
they're going to get hit. They're going to get like they're going to have to chase somebody. You're going to have to, wrestle with somebody. That's going to have to happen. That's your job.
Right.
So
I as an officer who's been assaulted, if the people that have assaulted me would have gotten 5 years, I would have been thrilled.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, that's great. Oh, all right, cool. Like,
but I mean,
or hey, man, that's probably too much. Like, I've literally said that to somebody. Like, I think I'm trying to think of what was. Oh, I think a guy did like 3 to 5. I went to put handcuffs on him by myself. I was young and dumb on a bike. I arrested a guy on a Sunday morning. I put one cuff on him. I knew he had a bench warrant. I knew who the guy was. I put one cuff on him and went to put his hands behind his back, and he took off running. So he has one cuff on him. We run up in an I'm chasing him. I'm calling it out, and guys are leaving the police station because we had like Sunday roll call. You remember that Sunday roll call training?
Sunday roll call.
Yeah. So it's like 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and we're fighting in front of this bar. When I say fighting, I mean he like I grab him and he turns on me and like tries to tackle me, like do a double leg takedown on me. So I sprawl like a boss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, yeah, I could do that stuff. And like, I mean, I'm wailing on him, trying to get him in custody. I do like a hockey move.
Yeah.
I pull his shirt over his head and I'm wailing on him. A knife falls out of his pocket, or I don't know how it fell out. A knife falls on the ground. It wasn't my knife. And he like goes for it. And I forget what I did. I dropped like an elbow on his head and disengaged and drew my gun and like gave him all kinds of commands. I think he got like 3 to 5 years on that. I saw him like 15 years later, probably.
Yeah.
It was probably 15 years later in it. And he goes, man, what you did to me back then, that was messed up. I go, bro, you try to tackle me. He goes, oh, come on, man. You know the game. And I was like, oh man, you're all right. And he had all kinds of back problems and stuff because like he lived a rough life, not because of me, but like all of those years after he got out, he was a mess too. But like, anyway, so like we laughed it off and it was funny, but yeah. So he did like 3 to 5 years for assaulting, like resisting arrest, assault, all that stuff. But like, these guys were going to be in there forever. Like nobody knew when they were going to get out. Right. And
it did sound like they were, a lot of them were put in solitary confinement. It didn't ring of, you see Lady Justice with a blindfold and using the balanced weights,
it seemed of like political
persecution.
I'm going to crush you.
Especially when, like you said, on the other side, people who were protesting and rioting and burning buildings down and trying to take over federal courthouses were getting nothing. They were getting.
Do you remember Seattle? Like literally, like the federal buildings, and they would have like every night they were having, Molotov cocktails thrown at them. Like they were burning things down, and very few people got charged, if anybody.
Right.
And I get it. Like, it looked bad. A lot of it looked bad in January 6th.
Right.
But it's just, especially when Trump said, I'll give you National Guardsmen. Do you want them?
Right.
No. Like, it didn't have to happen. It almost seemed like it was a setup.
Yeah. And it does, there is definitely some evidence out there and some concerning things out there that reeks of.
Dude,
like
Ashley Babbitt was shot.
Right.
And she was unarmed. She was climbing through a window of a door.
Right.
And an officer shot her.
Didn't we talk about that case? And
like of one thing that's unjustified, maybe justified, but like that should go to a jury. Let them make a decision.
That didn't go. No, that didn't go to a grand jury.
He was hailed a hero.
He was hailed a hero. Yeah,
he's an officer. I'm an officer.
There's stuff coming out about him that he's kind of grimy.
Dude, I don't know, man.
But
like it's just it bothers me because there's a case where maybe a jury should hear that.
Right.
Maybe a jury should hear that, and a jury of his peers should hear that. But she was a veteran, climbed through a window,
right,
with lots of other people there, unarmed,
and
he blasted her.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's brutal.
Yeah. A lot. I think there's a lot of questions about that day, and I don't feel like the American public has ever been given full information.
Even they're like, well, some of these videos are gone. I don't know what happened to them. They're deleted. Like, how does that happen?
Right.
It happens because there was some shady stuff happening.
Yeah, I think so. And there's video of them like arresting protesters, rioters, and then leaving, uncuffing them further into the building.
And there's like pictures of Antifa, so like left-wing people, like changing their clothes and then go and create a chaos. Like
it's
so shady,
some grimy stuff. And I guess my thing is Trump doing. I wasn't crazy about a blanket pardon.
Okay,
I'm never crazy when you take a something like that. That's obviously, it shouldn't be political. It should be, was a crime committed? Was a crime
political? Both sides is what you're saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so like, the Biden administration went after these people, and in a way that they weren't going after other criminals, after other wrongdoers, after other people who were acting evilly. They went after these people like
being
they were
biased, like the proverb said, right?
Yeah. Showing a level of partiality to other people who were also doing illegal things.
Both sides are doing it, is what you're saying.
So now Trump gets in and he does a blanket pardon. I wasn't crazy about it. I felt like
the problem is he can't do anything else, right? So it's either a pardon or it's what stands. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no, he could pardon certain people.
I understand, but if he doesn't pardon all, like, will they ever get out for assaulting a police officer?
Well, I don't.
That's what I'm saying.
But
yeah, I agree.
What I'm saying is, if you did actually commit a crime and assault a police officer, and you got consequence that you don't like, you shouldn't have assaulted a police officer.
But if the consequence is too much, I think that's where I stand. Like, if the consequence is literally it's life in prison because you punched a cop, you threw a brick at a cop. But none of them.
I don't think anyone got life in prison.
Dude, they got.
Did they?
They got crazy sentences.
Well, they did get crazy sentences. So
which is unjust.
It is unjust. Yeah, I could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
No, I see what you're
like. And we're saying we haven't looked at every single person.
We haven't looked at every single case.
These officers were not hurt that bad. I've seen officers get hurt.
Right.
And I mean. I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know. I just didn't like the blanket pardon of everyone.
I get it. Yeah.
Like, why not
take some
time and discern,
use some wisdom, do some discernment, set up a committee. You know what I mean? Do the government thing, right?
Right.
Pay lots of people lots of money to do like minimal tasks, right?
Instead of just doing like a blanket.
Yeah, I get it.
For sure, some of those people should
it would have looked better.
It would have looked better, and I think for the officers who were assaulted. Because there were officers who were assaulted by people
100%, and they don't deserve to be assaulted. Like,
right. And I don't know that the people that did the assaulting, the suspects that did the assaulting, deserve to be pardoned at this point. Like,
I agree.
Without looking at how long was their sentence. Like, is
their sentence 30 years for throwing a brick at a cop? Like, give him a black eye. Like,
Yeah, I
That's
feel
too
like,
much to me.
Yeah, but I feel like there needs to be discretion there.
Yeah.
You can't just don't just do a blanket pardon. Like, look at the individual cases, the individual charges, and then say, okay, I'm going to pardon these 100 people or whoever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
in reality, if you were in for 5 years, right?
Right.
It happened in 2020, January 6th.
Well, yeah, it would have happened right at the end.
Yeah, so you're locked. I mean, they move pretty quickly.
Right.
So you were in for 4 or 5 years.
Some of them, if they were arrested right away, and had
5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
For throwing a punch or
fire
extinguisher.
and especially when you don't. I still don't feel like we know what really happened.
We
don't know the truth about that event.
No, we don't.
But it does kill me when people are like, it was as bad as 9/11. Come on, bro.
It was not.
Come on.
It wasn't even close.
Or when people say, cops died.
Nobody
That's
died.
untrue. Like,
no officers
cops
died.
were killed by anybody.
No officers died from the January 6th rioters.
Yeah.
They didn't cause any of their deaths.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a lot of like craziness with that whole thing. So
have you watched the glove don't fit, you must have quit? Who's that guy? O.J. Simpson. Have you watched that documentary? There's a new documentary. Newish.
On where?
O.J. Simpson on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. I don't have Netflix right now.
Oh, all right. Disregard.
I go in and out of Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting?
It's super interesting.
Oh,
I recommend you watch. Like, if you get when you get Netflix next, watch it. It's super interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing story of a guilty man being found innocent.
Dude, because remember he got charged with like robbery in Las Vegas years later.
Yeah.
And he got absolutely crushed. His sentence was huge.
Right.
And I think that it was taken into account that he had killed his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And
so is the documentary like a serious, like, hey, he did
it's pretty good. It ends a little bit woke-ish.
Okay. I think
but
the interviews
it's pretty good.
I think some of the interviews with O.J. Simpson after the trial and after he was found not guilty, he basically
admits
that he did it. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, so speaking of crazy and woke stuff, it's not really woke. We're just getting some funny comments on YouTube.
All right, I like comments. We've asked for comments and we're getting
them.
Yeah.
And I don't respond. I don't respond to most of them. I just laugh. I see them and I laugh. So the one guy said he wanted to say pig-splaining at its finest, kind of like mansplaining. He wanted to say pig-splaining at its finest. That was on one of the videos he put. He's like pig-splaining at its finest. But he didn't even spell it right. It's like he spelled it pigs planning at its finest.
Pigs planning.
So
like mansplaining is basically like a man talking down to a woman
and telling her, pretty much in our day and age, anything. Like if
correct a woman in any way.
Yeah, if I'm trying to tell a woman something and be like, no, you don't understand. That's not how it works. Then I would be mansplaining. Or if I'm telling her like a fact that the woman doesn't like, I would be mansplaining. Or I don't know.
Isn't that normal human behavior?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But so in one of our videos, is
there any such a thing is there a thing as woman-splaining? Like a woman explaining to a man a certain thing?
No.
Now why?
Well,
because they don't have any power or authority, even though they're equal.
Well, it depends. Like when you go in, I mean, it depends who the man. I mean, is it a man, a trans man, a gay man? Is it a black trans man?
Oh man,
talking to a white woman? Well, then maybe the woman could be.
That's confusing. That makes it confusing.
It's all about where you fall in the victim ladder.
Yeah. How much have you been victimized?
Yeah, how much of a victim am I?
Yeah,
and then
so pig-splaining. Well, actually, that's kind of a compliment because we're kind of explaining the view of a police officer to someone who's not a police officer. Just like if you were a McDonald's worker, you explained to me how that works, in the McDonald's world. Like if I don't know that, you can explain that to me. That seems to make sense. You have some certain knowledge in a certain field that you can explain to someone who doesn't have that knowledge in a certain field, right? Like that seems like a human nature type of thing, right?
Right. Except he used the slang pig.
Oh, what's pig mean, dude?
So
where'd that come from?
It actually it was first published in a London dictionary in
Stinking
1874.
British, dude. That's exactly
Yeah.
why we kicked them out of our country.
It was listed as a policeman and informer. It was like slang for them. They still don't really know why the term pig was coined.
Like, I love pig, dude.
But perhaps it was an allusion to early officers and detectives who were sniffing out crime like pig sniffs with its snout. So I don't know. And then obviously
would that be like dog? Like, dogs are better sniffers than pigs, aren't they? Like, pigs just eat anything. Dogs like find specific things.
Being called a dog is kind of like a negative term too.
What if you're a dog lover, dude? That might be a compliment. I love bacon.
Or you feel like, what's up, dog?
Be Snoop Dogg. Right?
Snoop Dogg. He's in everything, man.
I know.
Like,
you
texted me the other day. You're like, remember that episode we did about Snoop Dogg? I'm noticing he's in everything. I'm like, yeah, he's in everything.
All the things.
And he's always high. He's always high. He's like, yo, man, what's up, dog? So, yeah. And the Black Panthers obviously use that pig term because heavily in the 60s.
Seems like derogatory.
Yeah. So, and
it's a little bit offensive,
remember Colin Kaepernick wearing the pig socks with a policeman hat on?
Hey, where's he at
in 2020? He's oppressed.
He's forgotten.
He's oppressed. Remember he did the documentary saying that the NFL, and I didn't watch this documentary, but in the documentary he claimed the NFL was like slave trade.
Okay.
Like the owners are buying players and stuff.
Paid millions of dollars.
I'm like, how did you make this documentary?
Millions of dollars to play a game.
Yeah. I've done some stuff on him. He's wild, man.
Yeah, whatever.
So my favorite of all the comments we got, favorite comment was from this guy at Jordan Rodriguez 512. Okay. He put it out there public. I'm going to put his name out there. I loved it. It made me laugh.
All right.
He said, no context. This was, I made a YouTube short.
All right.
Yeah. He's like, no context, no video, just two guys in the middle of a conversation. No idea what it's about. You all got to learn how to make a clip. I died.
Did you look him up to see like if he's making clips? Like that's the point of a short, is to grab like your attention and want you to like find out more. That's literally the whole point of a YouTube short, right? Like it's just a snippet. Bro, there's no context in it. It's just a short clip.
Dude, Lauren was so mad. I'm like,
was she mad?
Yeah, she's like, what is the guy you need?
That's hilarious.
I'm like, I'm not writing him back.
All of your shorts, I think I've listened to all of them.
Okay,
they're advertisements. It's like little. It's a tease.
It's just trying to push people.
It's just hey, oh, that's kind of wild.
Yeah,
why would they say that? What was that about? Oh, let's go check this out. Let's comment. Let's like. Let's support. Let's become a patron. I like these guys. They're funny. Or hey, these guys are idiots. Like let's, like. That's the point of a short.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Rodrigo.
I love the comments.
What was his name? Rodrigo 516?
Jordan Rodriguez 512.
All right, Jordan.
We're gonna.
Dude, I like you, Jordan. Man, whatever, dude. Like, listen to a whole episode and then you'll get the context because a short is just a snippet within the context of the entire podcast, bro.
You all gotta learn how to make a clip.
Dude, I think you make good clips, dude.
No context, no video. Just two guys in the middle of a conversation, sitting too close at a table.
Dude, we're not too close. We're like 2 feet away from each other. 2.5, 3 feet away.
We didn't. Well, we were able to high five very easily. It was like I didn't.
I know that was
I didn't have to move my arm.
That was a little bit weird.
No, this whole thing's weird. This whole episode's been weird.
Dude, I love this episode. I've had fun.
All right.
Anyway, if you like the podcast, like, subscribe, become a patron. Yes. Doesn't cost much. It's less than Starbucks coffee, whoever's drinking Starbucks. Unless they want to be a supporter, or then maybe we'll not bust on Starbucks.
What?
I don't know.
Great. Giving me more to cut out at the end here.
Story of my life, dude. You need something to do, dude.
Yeah.